The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
Good evening, good morning, and welcome to the Wednesday week. We're finally sorted after Simon's technical malfunctions, and now there's malfunctions in the wardrobe department by the looks of it. But anyway, I don't think this is going out on YouTube, so we should be fine. We've got
my God.
So we've got Simon, Jon, Stevie, and me, obviously, tonight. We've got Shrewsbury to talk about, even though it seems like an age ago and none of us seem to remember much about it. Mansfield, obviously, last Saturday in the FA Cup, which leads us then nicely onto the draw against Newcastle. And then Derby away on Saturday, and sandwiched somewhere in between that, or possibly at the end, we've got Stevie's quiz. But yeah, let's start with Shrewsbury. Simon, you've watched the highlights, you say earlier. So, Mark McGuinness goal, good corner.
Yeah, good goal, good corner. All I can say about this game is, because it has disappeared in the memory, is I took a friend of mine who has never watched Wednesday before in regards to Satin Omend. He's actually a Tottenham fan. And he's 63, and he actually really enjoyed the game. He really enjoyed game. He thought it was a great game for the observer, the impartial observer. I think a lot of Wednesday fans disagreed with that, but that's all I can say. That for the impartial observer, they thought it was really good.
Stevie, I mean, Mark McGuinness, we've said about how good he's been for a few weeks now. It's probably one of the first names on team sheet. There's been rumours of a possible permanent signing in January. That'd be a good bit of business, wouldn't it?
I think that'd be excellent business. I've seen little bits here and there where people are now obviously starting to, you talk about your lone loves and what have you, and people are comparing him a little bit to Jordan's Story and the way that Story was last year. He's obviously, for me, a different kind of player to Story. I like him. I think he's a good addition. I think he's the back line that we've got this season. And you can include Ihekwe in that, particularly because he seemed to be the marquee signing at the back, didn't he, over the summer? I think Mark McGuinness is a level up from Ihekwe in terms of the things that he does, the presence that he's got, the composure that he's got on the ball, the way that he can play out from the back. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful against Ihekwe. There's just levels to it, isn't there? And I think he's coming and he's settled really well. He took the goal well. I like what he brings to the team. He's got a composure. He's calm. Realistically, I don't think we're going to get that over the line. I think we'd seen that we were going to look at trying to sign him in January. I don't think that that's something that at this stage where we're in a position to do, because we don't know what league we're going to be in, whether or not we get to the end of the season and it's dependent on us being where we are, whether we're a Championship side or a League One side next year, might tell a different story. But for me, I think he's been really good. I think the Shrewsbury game, if I'm honest, thinking back, I gauge everything on how excited Molly is, the little girl is, and it just felt a little bit underwhelming, if I'm honest with you. The whole thing, McGuinness scored and we kind of just looked at each other and went, yeah, we've got a goal, that's it. Are we going to kick on now or not? But it just felt a little bit third gear the whole afternoon. I know we're going back a little bit now, but I never felt that we were in any danger of not getting something out of the game. I think the most positive thing I could probably say is that it's the kind of game that a year ago, it's one of those where we're time of year that we were at, it's your sort of your AFC Wimbledon, your Shrewsbury last year sort of period where we're dropping points and conceding late goals, and the performances not being quite right, and we were paying for them. It weren't the best performance, but we got the 3 points, so you take the positives out of that, don't you?
Yeah.
What do you think, Jon? Do you agree with that?
I agree with large parts of that. Yeah, I think McGuinness has proven to be an excellent signing. He can play off that left side, even though he's not naturally left-footed, which brings a balance to that back three when we play a back three. Unfortunately, it's going back into the old never fall in love with a lone player syndrome, isn't it? We've seen it before when we've had lone players that we weren't able to make permanent, like Michael Hector, Federico Venancio, even going further back, such as Ben Marshall. We fall in love with these players. we really want them to stay, but you know, the coming to us and getting game time, it just increases the value, increases the worth, and the parent clubs see that. And I agree with Steve. I think it'd be very difficult to get him on a permanent transfer in January for the reasons which Steve said. One, we don't know which league we're in, and two, I'm not sure what kind of price he'd command with this, you know, with the way he's been playing for us. But he's certainly probably the first name on a team sheet in the back line right now. He's really playing outstanding for us, and he's been a great addition, and chipped in with a goal obviously against Shrewsbury, like you said, which seems ages ago now. So we'll have to see what happens with that one. But I'd be surprised if we can make it permanent in January. But I think the best thing is that if we can keep him for the season, he's not got a recall clause or anything like that, because he's going to be a key player for us.
I think he actually might have a recall clause in January. I think both him and Alex Martin both do, which probably wouldn't necessarily miss Martin quite as much as some of the. But I think if we could keep McGuinness for the rest of the season, if we could make it permanent, that'd be great. I think we all agree on that. From a current centre half to the return of a former centre half, that I had a bit of a moan about after the game, that reception Shea Dunkley got from the Cop. A couple of people said he didn't get that much of a reception, but from the Cop, it just went a bit over the top, in my opinion. They were giving it the whole reader, we're not worthy thing. I just thought it was shite. Am I wrong, Stevie? It was shite.
You know me, I'm a little bit more positive than most. He didn't offend me. I know that obviously people will point to the Derby game on the last game of the season in the Championship where he's conceded a penalty. He did what he did well, and he could head a ball well. He give it to people that can go and play, and he obviously, whilst there are levels to what people can do, he wasn't necessarily at it, but he didn't offend me in the same way that certain other people have. You look at a Van Aken, we paid 3-4 million for Van Aken. Give me Dunkley over Van Aken any day of the week. He was the kind of player that on another day, sliding doors or butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it, it could have worked out for him. It just didn't seem to happen, whether it be injuries, runs, everything that were going on behind the scenes. I'm not going to miss him, but I don't think he deserves to be slated. But that's me.
Dunkley did what Dunkley does for Shrewsbury, didn't he? I mean, he won everything in the air. The thing that I noticed with him was that when he was with us, his distribution wasn't that great, and his distribution had improved a hell of a lot. I think I just didn't want him to score against us. And one thing I was going to bring up was the pressure that they put on us towards the end of the game, which was unnecessary, really. I think we sat a little too deep and invited them onto us. And there was always that risk, wasn't there? I think there was a couple of, I think it were a free kick towards the end, which I'm sure he headed wide.
Yeah, he did have an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, been interested to see what he would have done if he had scored in regards to his celebration. But that was the only thing that wound me up a little bit for when Wednesday sort of sat back a little too much. And then out of anybody who I wouldn't want to score, it was Dunkley. I've got no feelings to him whatsoever, positive or negative. We were going down that Derby game. We were going down anyway, whether he'd given that penalty or not. I think it did us a favour. We've discussed that to the end of the earth, haven't we? In regards to us going down, I don't know. I don't think he deserved anything other than you used to play for us. So some people
he was the one that was signed when he got a broken leg, wasn't it, Dunkley?
Yeah,
sure we did. Yeah. Which raised a lot of eyebrows. But yeah, I don't think he's anyone we should pay too much attention to. I think he ran over to Cop and clapping. You're always going to get some people clapping back, but I don't think it's like some of the other players that have returned to us but have deserved a good reception. It's just probably a few people being quite polite, and we've got the 3 points, bit of relief because, like Simon said, we got a bit anxious there towards the end, didn't we? Cop was getting bit anxious. That always seems to rub off on the players. You know, I sit on the cup, and when they get on the bikes, and you know, you can feel it gets a bit frantic in defence. There, it kind of rubs off on the players, and there's a bit of panic creeps into the game, and it was quite unnecessary, really, weren't it? But that's how it sort of transpired. Those last sort of 10 minutes were like clinging on against a team of a league above us. And it was quite mad, really. But fortunately enough, as we haven't been able to do in certainly last season, we were able to see it out and seal the 3 points.
I just obviously Ben hosts. I'm just interested to get the input from other people and see what they think on this one, because everybody talks about us hanging on, and everybody talks about the fact that we get to the last bit, and you know, naturally there are teams, and there's going to be situations where players go into or teams go into a scenario where they're under pressure a little bit. But if you look at the stats, and I've just jotted a couple down because I wanted to remember, you know, where we were. We've had 56% possession. We've had 14 shots to their 9. They only had 1 shot on target, and yet we sit here and go, "Oh, we're riding out pressure, and you know, we ride our luck, and so on and so forth." Is it us or is it them? Does that make sense? Is it the fan base that are saying that we're taking that we feel the pressure and we've got it going, or are we actually under as much pressure as people think we are?
I think it's down to expectations of what what we think we should be playing like for 90 minutes straight against these sides. It's a 90-minute game of football, and you're never going to dominate a game for 90 minutes. There's going to be spells, whoever you're playing against, albeit a couple of times this season. Probably look at Forest Green game, for example, where they've shown absolutely nothing at all. But the majority of sides in this division, whether we like it or not, are going to have spells. So I think sometimes we do make more of it than what there actually has been. The Shrewsbury game is probably an example of that, where we think we've been under the cosh for more of the game than the stats suggest. As I say, I think it's just a matter of expectations.
I think in regards to the Shrewsbury game, I've not noticed us this season in particular being under the cosh in the last 5-10 minutes. We have got a little bit of history, haven't we, of losing games in the last few minutes or drawing games in the last few minutes, which is obviously going to make the crowd, because we've got that history of it, it's going to make the crowd a little bit sort of worried. And we have had in the past as well history of us sitting a little deeper in the second half and towards the end and inviting teams onto us, which have ended up resulting in us either losing or drawing. So that I can understand the crowds being edgy, because in memory we've had those issues. But in regards to this season in particular, I can't remember a game, home or away, that I've been to where we've had those issues in the last few minutes, other than that one Shrewsbury game. Maybe the Plymouth game away, where we made the substitutions and invited Plymouth onto us. But we seem to have got out of that habit of trying to defend a 1-0 lead up until that Shrewsbury game. It might have been tired legs. It might have been the fact that Shrewsbury have, because they beat us they drew with us last minute, didn't they, last season at home? So it could be a tactical thing that they just went for it, in those last few minutes, knowing that we have in the past been a little fragile towards the end of games. Who knows?
Let's move on from Shrewsbury, because it was a while ago, and as we say, it was a bit underwhelming as it was. Move on to Mansfield, FA Cup Saturday just gone. Obviously, I didn't go. I don't think Simon, you didn't go either. So, Jon, Stevie, did you both go?
Yeah, I was there.
I watched the highlights. I didn't get to that one. Yeah.
Well, I'll come to you then. I'll come to you then, Steve. Enlighten us.
I think before we start recording, I made a comment to you, Ben, about what I thought about the game and the sort of reaction. I think I posted something the other night on my socials that I think there's, again, just on the point that we've just had the discussion, I take everything that Simon said and potentially agree with it. I don't know what Mansfield fans thought or what they expected, and this. Oh, we'll count ourselves unlucky, and Nigel Clough coming out and saying we've been robbed and this, that, and the other. What a load of bullshit! We made wholesale changes on Saturday to an extent and gave people that haven't been anywhere near our starting 11 opportunities to put themselves in, and it was a shop window for some of our players. And our players were absolutely terrible on Saturday. They were absolutely awful. So what did we do? We brought on our informed striker. We brought on the best player in the league. And we went on and won the game. We went from gear 2 to gear 5. And the moment we kicked on, we were the better side. All right, we're only 15, 20 minutes, but we were better side and we won the game. And we, had we played those players from the start, it would have been an absolute procession. So I don't get the I think everything that people are talking about has been a bit of an overreaction in terms of, how close we ran them and so forth. But what I will say, from my point of view, is they were plucking, they stuck at it. But God, some of the players that started on Saturday, horrendous, awful.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looked from the bits that I saw and reading up on the reports and such that Mansfield very much had the best spells in the first half, didn't they? And the second half, it was a more Wednesday were more in control, weren't they? And obviously bringing those players on, like you said, Steve, you're bringing two heavyweights off the pitch onto the pitch there, aren't you? And Bannon played the last 12 minutes as well, didn't they? And then obviously Smith with a double. Good shout out from Marvin Johnson as well. Looking at, did he get 2 assists on there? Certainly got one that looks a bit and looked like there were some quality balls back into the box, which we've not seen much because he's not been playing as much as he had been in the past with Reece James getting more game time. But yeah, I just think it just seemed like first half were their best chance to probably get something from the game, and by the second half we shook ourselves up a bit, and Moore had made some changes and went up a couple of notches, like Stevie said, and managed to turn it around and get ourselves into the third round. So yeah, nice comeback from Wednesday, that really.
And that leads us on to the third round draw in Newcastle. I think Ash were pretty downbeat about it, which weren't necessarily on the same wavelength as that. I think it's quite a good tie. Third in the Premier League. In terms of position, you're only looking at Man City and Arsenal as better tie. So I think Newcastle's a good test. I think it's what Michael Smith wanted, isn't it? He's a Newcastle fan. What did you think, Si?
I was happy with it, to be honest. I would have loved. I think we all were speaking on the group, weren't we, about where we would like to have got and what we would like to have got. I'd have loved to have gone to an away game somewhere. Tottenham's new. I think one thing was Tottenham's ground, not being there. Arsenal's ground. We've done Man City a couple of times, so I'm not bothered about that. I'd like to have gone to West Ham away as well at the Olympic Stadium.
That was really
and it's just, so I was a bit disappointed that it wasn't. And Newcastle away would have been good as well, because it had been a good atmosphere in Newcastle itself, where the ground is. But they'll sell out. I'd have thought the Geordies they're only an hour and a half away, isn't it? Newcastle, an hour and a half, 2 hours. They'll bring a good following. And I hopefully, like I've read on the sort of social since, if we prices it right, we should have a full house, pretty much near full house.
Yeah,
and it's a nice payday for Wednesday. It'll fill the coffers if we sell the away end out and we sell all the other ends out. Then, in regards to, I don't know, I went down to Southampton. And I thought we played really, really well. I know Southampton aren't third in the Premiership, but there'll be players there who want to raise the game, and it'll be a good game of football. Newcastle play nice football. Wednesday can play nice football. I don't know whether we'll win it, but it'd be nice to give them a game, wouldn't it?
There's a lot worse ties that we could have ended up with. Another League One's a Championship side, a Southampton away again, something like that. Newcastle at home, I think that's better than most ties that we've had in the last few years. And like we say, I reckon it's a sellout all round, Steve.
I think there's two schools of thought with it, isn't there, in terms of whether or not we can kick on and win the game, or progress. I agree with Simon. I think it's a good one. And I think I said at the time, it'd be a good draw to have, a good team to play, because they're kicking in and around Champions League. They're looking to get in the top 4, which wasn't realistic at the start of the season. The only sort of sticking point potentially would be the fact that he's come out and he's made a point of wanting to win a cup. So those teams that are in and around traditionally would play their second string. Is he going to put out the strongest team that he possibly can to progress and get on through the rounds into the latter stages, with the the possibility of getting into the FA Cup final and winning it. If he chooses to do that, it's going to be a tough game for us. It is. But if he's looking at it and thinking Champions League might be the better option, then there's a chance that he's going to play players that might not necessarily be playing in the league. And I'll tell you, it's a great game to to go and sort of test your mettle against.
John, what do you think?
Well, Darren Moore said he wanted a Premier League side at home, and that's exactly what he's got. And it's a Premier League side that have, got a lot of money invested. They're hugely ambitious. We all know they've been backed by the Saudi Arabians there. They've brought some Champions League quality players in, and they're aiming for that. I don't know about when people say it's something not a good draw, or what is a good draw, because is that from a fan perspective or is that from the club perspective? Because obviously fans might want to go to grounds, which you've said before, which we've not ticked off the list. But Newcastle will absolutely easily sell their away allocation out for that game. They're a well supported club. They'll come down and they'll fill the away end, no problem at all. I don't know if one of you guys posted on the chat about somebody suggesting we should give them the cup, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's never going to happen.
Saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, somebody on Twitter said it, didn't they? Let's give them the cup. Like, no. So I think we played them in the cup, didn't we, a few years ago at their ground. Lewis McGugan scored the winner, I believe. Obviously, things have changed a lot since then. Clubs have gone in different directions, but Wednesday, it'd be a great test for Wednesday against the hardest side they'll face this season, unless they get through and draw somebody else. But why not just have a go? There's nothing to lose. We're third in the league. You can take your focus off the league for a game and give it your all against a side that's gunning for Champions League. I can't see what's bad about that.
The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.
So that's Newcastle covered. I think that ties early January, 3rd or 4th, something like that. It could be a TV
between
game.
6th and 9th, hasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. Could be a TV game, could be an early kickoff. It could be whenever, really. I don't think we can decide yet. Anyway, we'll move on to Stevie's Dr. Simon quiz that we've got. We've been doing quizzes the last few podcasts. Go on then, Stevie, over to you.
Look at how happy Simon is. In fact, we've got the right demographic on the pod tonight for this quiz.
Happy days.
Right. Here's this week's quiz. I've gone back and had a look at the 5 games that Sheffield Wednesday played at Wembley in 1991 and 1993. Your task tonight, gentlemen, is to identify every player that was involved in the League Cup final 91, the semi-final 93, the League Cup final 93, the FA Cup final 93, and the FA Cup final replay. So we've got 5 squads. I'll accept substitutes, whether they came on or otherwise. I've got no interest in Sheffield United, Man United or Arsenal. We are just purely looking at the players that represented Sheffield Wednesday 5 times in the early 90s at Wembley.
So we've got 91.
91.
Then 93, we've got
93, the semi-final, the League Cup final, the FA Cup final, and the FA Cup final replay.
Oh, God.
The
Fudge is going to be kicking himself.
The FA Cup semi.
Say again, sorry?
FA Cup semi. Only
the semi, the United game, The League Cup final, the FA Cup final. So the 3 games against Arsenal, the game against Sheffield United, and the game against Manchester United.
Yeah.
I've zero interest in repeating. So if they've played once, that counts them off, and we'll tick them all off.
Cool. That's fair.
If it gets to a tie, I've got a tiebreaker question that's going to absolutely blow your mind. And if not, I'm going to give that as a quick fact find, a little activity at the end. Okay, we'll go in order. The order that I've got on my screen from the top is Ben.
Good.
Followed by John, followed by Simon. When you're ready, Ben.
Chris Waddle.
Chris Waddle is on the list. John.
I'm going to go with Chris Turner.
Chris Turner is on the list. Simon.
Roland Nielsen.
Did he play? Roland Nielsen.
Ashley Sharp.
Back to you, Ben.
David Hurst.
Of course, David Hurst is on the list. Tell you what, it feels a bit serious tonight, this quiz, doesn't it? No. We're in and we're on, we're ticking. Let's get this done. Business.
We're going for
Okay, I'm going to go with John Harkes.
John Harkes is on the list.
Nigel Worthington.
Nigel Worthington is on the list.
Sheridan.
Of course, John Sheridan is on the list.
I'll go with Carlton Palmer.
Carlton Palmer is on the list. Fun fact, in checking this, and this is one that I didn't realise, did he captain one of the sides in the final, in one of the finals? He was captain.
Did he?
He was captain in '93. Fairly certain he was captain in the FA Cup final replay.
Wow.
Carlton Palmer would have lifted the cup. Ben?
Mark Bright's shot would have been 2 inches to the right.
Is it me?
Yes, Ben.
Chris Woods.
Chris Woods is on the list. John.
Okay. Let's go with Nigel Pearson.
Man of the match in '91. Nigel Pearson. Simon.
Peter Shirtcliffe.
Defender Association.
I'm just going across the back 4 in '91 first, and then I'll work my way forward.
Ben.
Phil King.
Yeah.
Phil King is on the list. John.
I'm sure he was still in the squad, but I don't know if he got game time. But I'll go for it anyway. Paul Williams.
Paul Williams actually started in '91.
91.
Excellent.
Nearly scored as well.
Yeah. Si.
Danny Wilson.
Yeah, Danny Wilson on the list. Ben.
Chris Bart Williams.
Chris Bart Williams is a good one on the list.
Des Walker.
Des Walker is not on the list.
Ooh,
Too early.
Too early. I'm out.
Yeah.
It must have signed after.
Did not play in '93.
Jesus.
That's freaked Simon out.
And I'm going back to '91 again. Trevor
Francis.
Trevor Francis.
Yeah. Trevor Francis was on the bench in '91.
Mark Bright. Not said yet. I don't think.
Of course, Mark Bright is on the list. This is so serious. Simon, I can feel it. I can sense that you're struggling.
Are we on John? Or is it me?
I'm out.
Comes out.
John's gone.
You're out. John's out. Oh, you are out.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. No, I thought it was John. Laurie Madden.
Laurie Madden.
Shout.
Yep, Laurie Madden is on the list. Sub came on 87th minute, I think it was in 1990.
Are we still covering those people on the bench? Those were on the bench who didn't come on as well, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready, Ben?
Yeah.
I can tell you now, as I'm filling for time whilst Ben's thinking, the 91 League Cup final has been ticked off. Turner in goal, Nielsen, King, John Harkes at 4, Shirtliff, Pearson, Danny Wilson, Shez, David Hurst, Paul Williams, Nigel Worthington, and the 2 subs were Trevor Francis and Laurie Madden.
Yeah, because you're only allowed 2 subs then, weren't you?
Graham Hyde.
Graham Hyde is on the list. He was on the bench in the semi-final, the League Cup final, the FA Cup final, and the replay.
So I'm going for a punt here that they changed substitutions and you could have more on. So I'm going Kevin Pressman.
Kevin Pressman was not on the list. In 93, Dr. Simon Hill has lost a Dr. Simon Hill quiz.
So we didn't have a keeper on the bench then in 93.
No keepers. The subs in 93 were David Hurst and Graham Hyde. The subs in the final, again, Hyde and Hurst. That's a League Cup final, sorry. The FA Cup final in 93 were Bart Williams and Graham Hyde. And again, in the replay, it was the same one.
So who we missed out of the 90s?
Right, I'll go down in order. I'm going to save the big one until last. In fact, there's only 2 now that I look as I've ticked through. Viv Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
The big one that we've all missed, or you've all missed, Paul Warhurst.
Oh,
of course. You're instrumental in getting us to the final.
That's a brilliant quiz. Brilliant quiz. You know what? I never really think about the 93 squads. No, because we didn't win anything. Yep. Never really give that much. The 91 squad was iconic, wasn't it? Because we won.
I'll give you a quick one. There are 4 players. 4 players were involved in all 5 games.
Hurst.
1.
Carlton.
Sheridan.
2.
Worthington.
Nope.
Worthington didn't play in 93.
Worthington didn't play in the League Cup final in 93.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll give you these because it could be all night.
Yeah.
The players that were involved in all 5. Palmer was suspended in 91, wasn't he? He was pissed up on. David Hurst, John Sheridan, John and Roland Nielsen were involved in all 5.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Well, Rowley would, wouldn't they? Jesus.
There you go. This week's quiz. Sponsored.
That was brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Short and sweet, that one.
Damn fudge.
No, that was really good. Nice bit of reminiscing.
And the winner, the one who was -7 years old at the time. Anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is, mate, your memory works better than mine. And you also don't drink.
Last bit on the agenda, Derby away on Saturday. Obviously, we don't have a very good record at Pride Park. What is it? Is it no wins since about 2004? 1 win in total or something at Pride? I don't know exactly. It's something like that.
Can I give you the stats?
Yes.
Since 1996 against Derby, we've played 38 times. We've won 5 in 26 years. At Derby itself, we haven't won at Derby since 2006, and that's a record that goes back 13 games. I can't wait.
I knew there was the reason why I hadn't bothered getting a ticket.
It's one of
I
those.
mean,
It's one of those because you know what's coming. We've got rid of a shit house in Mendez-Lang, and we've got rid of Wildsmith, who'll be maligned for being in and around the squad.
Yeah.
Down. He's going to be associated with Pulis Ball and God, you can go back to Lukai and all of that. And he's the kind of player that's going to come out. He's dropped bollocks left, right, and centre. He's going to have the game of his life on Saturday.
Well, apparently he's been playing really well, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think he's dropped a couple, hasn't he? But Mendez-Lang is going to be the one that scores in the 88th minute to give him a 2-1 victory or something.
He wasn't even on the bench the other week, so I don't know where he's Mendez-Lang. So I don't know if he's injured but he's guaranteed to play him. And then also there's the Paul Warren factor as well, isn't there? So we're all really upbeat for this, aren't we?
I think to be honest, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the Paul Warren factor and the two players that we've talked about, they're in a decent run. I think they've drawn 3 and won 2 out of the last 5. We are, by all accounts, the form team, although we've only got another couple of points than they have. It would be a real statement if we could go out there and put in a performance. And I don't think, dare I say it, before Twitter at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, I don't think a draw would be a bad result on Saturday, given our track record and given everything else that's been going. For me, momentum is swinging in our way a little bit in terms of the results that the teams in and around us. We've got a comfortable sort of cushion of 9 points, I think it is, between us and Peterborough. A win on Saturday and a statement win, and Ipswich and Plymouth potentially slipping up would change the mood in and around the Wednesday hashtag. And I'd really like to see that, because I think we're lost at the moment on the fact that we're not actually doing that bad in terms of results, and our position in the league isn't as bad as people would have it, make out that it is. So I'm hopeful that we can go in there and be, get something out of the game. But I'd take a point on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a good test for Wednesday, because prior to this game, we've not had the greatest record against top 7 sides. Now we're going into a fixture which we've traditionally struggled in, especially at Pride Park, or even, I don't know about baseball grounds before my time, I suppose, but Pride Park, we struggled there. It's a 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? I don't know if that's because it's TV or if it's just policing, I don't know, but it's a 12:30 kickoff. We've not given as many as allocation as they normally do, so we'll be about 2,500. I was there when we took 6,000, which was immense when we were all bouncing. I think that's when Derby decided to nick our bouncing song. So last time we were there, I wasn't happy. They sent us down in the 3-3 draw, although in reality it wasn't them that sent us down, was it? It was the chairman. But that was just putting the underline on it and sent us down. So they've got Paul Warren, who knows the league well, who knows Wednesday well from his time at Rotherham. So I'm not overly confident of a win. I'd absolutely be quite overwhelmed with a draw, if I'm honest. And that might sound, glass half empty, but it is a fixture and circumstance and form of against us against top 7 teams that leaves me with a bit of trepidation. So I would take a point, but obviously anything more would be absolutely tremendous and would put a bit of a marker down for the rest of the league.
Right then, predictions. I'll go round. John?
Yeah, I said I'd take a draw, but I think this is going to be a loss, unfortunately. I'm going for 2-1 Derby, unfortunately.
So
I'm going 1-0 Wednesday. I think we're going to break the hoodoo. I think we were only talking about the way we're talking about them is not because of where they are in the league. It's because we've got a poor record there, and it's Derby. And for some reason, Derby keep being mentioned in the same name as us, same breath as us. We're third in the league, three points off top. They're way below us. We'll go there and win. We've got to go there and win. We need to keep pushing this league. I want us top by New Year, not third on bloody Boxing Day. That's what I do not want us to be, is third on Boxing Day, because we know how well that last went, don't we?
Steve,
we were third at Christmas.
Exactly. And then we went to Stoke.
Head says, no, I'll do Heart. Heart says we'll get something out of the game. My head says that I think we're in for a torrid afternoon. To be honest, I think the hashtag's going to be toxic. I can see them winning by a couple of goals, and Paul Warne with his little woolly hat and his grin all over the place, irritating the hell out of me for the next week or so.
I'll go 1-1. I just sort of echo what we've already said, that I think a draw would be an half decent result. A win would be a bonus. But given the record, I think a draw would be satisfiable, if that's a word. Okay, I think that's about everything, unless anyone's got any other business. Don't think there's anything else to say.
I wasn't prepped. I wasn't prepped for this, but I shared on the group the Sky Sports stat, the Barry Bannon article last night. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read that, the EFL stuff with the record that he's got. And I just thought it'd be quite nice to maybe, if we give Ash a nudge, to sort of retweet that and get people to have a look at it.
Ash.
Yeah, it's him that runs the Wednesday Week Twitter.
I'm not sure you'll get into. I'm not sure you'll get the propaganda.
We're talking about the fact that he's doing as well as he's doing, and he's going into his early to mid 30s now, and obviously been a credit to the club. And you can think and say whatever you want about it. I know that we talk about it every other week. That article alludes to the fact that he wants to finish his career with us. He's got, the goals and assists. He's in his third or fourth best season from a goals and assist return with us. He's given up the drink. He's doing bits. He's changed the way that he's playing. He's settled. He's happy in Sheffield. He wants to stay. And if you look at the stats that they're running out and the names that he's involved with, you can talk about it being League One all you want, but not being funny, he's an absolute cheat code for us in this league. And the fact that he's stayed with us through thick and thin is just another it's another notch on his belt, in it, another notch on his bedpost almost. What an outstanding player he's been for us, and I just think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit.
Indeed, I've spoke about it enough. It's the best I've ever seen at Wednesday, and probably the best I ever will see for a long time, unless we make a shoot up the divisions. Anyone else?
Yeah, that's been awesome, hasn't it? And I'm just trying to catch the latest score. Wednesday v Barnsley's under 18s FA Youth Cup, and I think it might have gone to extra time, but I can't see for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I can't see the full time on that one, but good luck to Wednesday in that anyway, because they're a decent academy as well. Knocked out Derby's team, their category A. I think Barnsley might be. They've certainly got a more better renowned academy than us, or certainly have done. So good luck to them anyway.
Agreed. They're half decent cup run. There's a couple of players now that are breaking through at the first team as well that you've seen on the bench. I think Rio Shipston and Kadamata have both been in and around it, haven't they? So yeah, I think that is about everything. Dan Fudge will probably be back next week after he's picked a barbell up or whatever he's doing. But I think we're all sick of them jokes now, so we'll move on. Right, see you next week.
The Wednesday Week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.